You know, one of these days, Red, I'm going to get that timing down so that I click the go live and I click the start of the intro at the same time, and we're not coming in and I'm like going, but wait, you missed the cool part.
Yeah, accidentally like turned up my volume. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome
Hello,
to the
hello.
End Times Twisted Pair.
Ooh, I like that. The new tagline. We are the untimed twisted pair. But anyways, welcome to the twisted pair. Everybody knows who I am, so I'm not going to be repetitive and say my name is Greybeard.
And I am Ash Red. And today I'm excited about our guest today. We've been fanboying and fangirling in the green room, but I'm super excited. We have Brandon with the Apostate Cigars. And so tell us a little bit about you, because you're the VP. And
But
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 before
but
we
don't
do
go
that, I
too
gotta get
deep.
to. See, I'm getting too excited.
I
Don't go
know.
too
I'm
deep.
too excited.
We're we're just getting into it. So we'll get back to you in just a minute. Just hold on. Just hold on. Don't get too
Alright.
antsy. Oh, wait a minute.
Hi
It was
everybody,
Red
I'm
that was
Brandon.
getting
Yeah.
antsy. This
I'm
is
ready for
Brandon.
cigar talk.
No, we'll keep it simple. You guys let me know when you want me to talk and I'll talk.
Well, let's get into the pairing. And Red, I know you are just jumping at the bit to talk about what you're going to pair.
Okay, so everybody knows that I am a Candela whore. I love Candelas, right?
It's 9 o'clock somewhere.
It is 9 o'clock somewhere. So, but anyway, so this is like, look at this. Like, I am super stoked. So, look, it's green. It's Candela. It is the serpent, correct? I don't have my reading glasses.
Feathered
Yes.
serpent, that's right.
Yes. Okay. So, I mean, just look at that. And then look right here, closed foot. The wrapper is St. Andreas. So if anyone knows what I like, it's the Candela, and it's St. Andreas. So like, and a
Don't
closed
lie.
foot,
You hate the San Andreas. We all know it.
and then it's closed foot. I love closed foot cigars because you just get a little bit more umph out of it. So
Yeah, we want you to taste that candela when you light it up. So you don't
yeah,
need to toast the foot or any of that. Just
no,
put
Well,
it, just go, just taste it.
just go
Yeah.
for it.
you
So,
you never see you never see people do closed foots on candelas. I mean,
No.
I've seen Shaggy put candelas. I think this is the first closed foot
regular,
candela I've ever
yeah.
seen.
Our original idea for that was to do a shaggy foot because it's called the feathered serpent. So we were thinking about having, the binder and filler kind of look like
Hmm.
feathered at the bottom. But that candela wrapper is so good that we were just like, nah, close the foot, let's taste it.
So because you don't
Yeah,
want to miss out.
yeah,
And
it's too good.
so what I am drinking is an Imperial Dark Ale with coffee. So
Hmm.
this is my Beer of the Month Club. So we're gonna try it out, and if it doesn't work out, I have a backup because that's how I roll. Or I might even do both. Who knows? I might do a flight of beers. And then
Well, we know you are a two-fister.
yes, I
I mean,
am.
it's Wednesday night, so here we
It
go.
is. So here is the s'mores temptress. So it's a s'mores and it's an imperial milk stout. So we're gonna see where this goes, and then I even have a backup on top of that. So
Wait, you have a
Nice.
right
backup to the backup?
to the backup, yeah.
Always
All right,
prepared.
Brandon, what are you pairing on the twisted pair?
So tonight for you guys, more for myself. I'm doing the sort of Laban. I'm smoking the same one you're lighting up there, Greybeard, and I'm gonna pair it with one of my go-tos. This is the Balvenie 12-year double wood,
My
and
man.
that
Oh,
cigar
yes.
with that, I mean, heaven. We're in heaven.
Okay, well, he gave away the one that I'm doing, so I'm also doing this sort of band,
I
and
ruined the surprise.
yeah, you did. Well, see, I was smoking the I don't even know how to pronounce the name of this one. So
The
what was the name?
Zarahemla, yeah.
The Zarahemla, which you can see how far I got down, and I'll probably be coming back to. I'm going to be a double fisted smoker.
Yeah.
There you go.
You know, but my pairing, I knew I wanted to drink this one. So that's the reason why I went with this cigar. But I am bringing out the Four Roses
Four
single
Roses.
barrel, and this is the OESF. So this isn't the standard. This is one of the other 10 recipes. This is the OESF recipe, and I'm excited about this pairing.
It's a
And
good
just
bottle.
look at that color. I mean, that
Mm,
is just a beaut. It matches.
there you go.
It
It
matches.
does.
So
I was so excited. Did you see? I was trying to light up, and I hadn't even cut my little pigtail off.
I almost would
I
go
just,
with a punch. I would almost go with a punch on that one, just so that you get that concentrated candela flavors.
You know,
I
that
was
one's a 46 ring gauge, so a punch would be just fine. Yeah.
see. That's what I was thinking, but I couldn't find my little punch thing.
Look at the bottom of one of your lighters.
You think that I would have it over here with my stuff? I might have to disappear for a minute. I know that will be y'all be sad if I do that.
We will miss the scenery, but I mean your presence. So let's jump into this while she's trying to catch up with us, while we're already enjoying the smoke and putting some smoke in the air. Tell us about who is Brandon?
He's just some fucking dude. So Brandon,
Just some dude who's dressed nice.
so my partner and I, when we formed Apostate in 2020, we're based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. So Kendrick and I both grew up in Utah, grew up Mormon, and we ran a retail shop called Beehive Cigars. Kendrick bought the shop in 2009, named it Beehive Cigars, and then hired me. I always forget, either 2015 or 2016. I think it's 2016, as his general manager. So I ran the shop for a few years. We decided we wanted to get creative, mess around, see how we can grow as tobacconists and do our own thing. And that's when we decided to form Apostate and make our own cigars. That was in 2020. So it's the whole, growing up religious in Utah. It's a very hard state to enjoy cigars, let alone sell them or manufacture them. So that's the vibe. Apostate is a religious term, refers to somebody who's rebelled or walked away from a belief system. We're pretty good at being black sheep and not rolling with the flock so well. So that's kind of who we are. Me personally, I've been smoking cigars about 12 years now. So you guys both got me beat.
Just maybe about a little bit.
Just by like 20 years, no big deal.
Yeah. I'm probably also 20 years older than you.
I just turned 41.
Okay, no, I'm 15 years older.
Well, you look great.
It's the beard.
It's the beard, right? I know.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm going with. It's
the beard is the push-up bra for your face, right? It's the ultimate accessory.
It's the one that hides the bald.
There you go.
See, it's amazing. I think some men, and I'm going to say this out here, catfish women with the beard. Like, they look phenomenal with beards, and then they shave them, and it's like, oh my God, why do you do that?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever shave.
It sounds bad, but y'all catfish women with the beard.
I will shave when the good Lord takes me home, and only if he says you need to shave. But all the pictures I've ever seen, he has a beard, so I think I'm good.
By all accounts, you're going to be in good company, man. So
yeah. So it is true, because there's not very many cigar lounges up in Utah.
Right. Yeah. There are no public lounges in Utah. So It's
Wow.
not like a lot of places where you can just walk in off the street, sit down, and have a cigar. They make it incredibly difficult for you, and we're one of the highest tax states as well. It's
Yeah.
86% cigar tax out here, so it's,
86%.
86%. You gotta really mean it. You gotta
Hmm.
do it on
Mm.
purpose out here. Yeah.
So I would imagine that a lot of folks who live in Utah probably buy their cigars online.
So the one good thing that Utah did was outlaw online sales in 2019. So uh, if they're buying online, they're not having it shipped to Utah. Excuse me. So I don't know. I will say that the cigar community here very supportive.
Well, that's
It's
good. That's
been
good.
Yeah, that law's been in place for a while. The high tax thing has been around for a while, so people are used to it. They've kind of built it into their budget, and they show up. They support brick and mortar. So there's
That's
I,
awesome.
I,
three really good shops here, and they're all doing well. So
I absolutely love that, and I want to tell people just right off the bat. Let's just get this out of the way. We say this every week. No, we're not going to tell you where to go, what shops to go and buy, because we like to stay on YouTube. But I will tell you that your website. I do love, how you can go to the
Hmm.
website and you can click on find a retailer, and you've got it listed out right there.
exactly,
So a lot,
exactly.
lot of good retailers that are out there. Probably one in your area. You may have to drive a little bit, but probably one in your area till you go and find a cigar. All
Yeah,
right.
we're working on it. We're working on it. Growing pretty quickly this year, so things are good. If you don't see anything near you on the list, there's a web form you can fill out on the website. Send me your info. Send me whoever you want to see carry it. We'll get to it.
So 2020,
I know
you
that's awesome. They did it in COVID.
2020 during COVID, during the heart of the shutdown.
Yep.
You start off a cigar brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us about what that process what was like to come up with your own line of cigars and start that in one of the hardest times to start it.
Hmm.
Honestly, I don't know that I would do it differently at this point because it made us really focus. It made us be really deliberate. We took things at a pace that made sense because of things being the way they were. You know what I mean? So initially, when we formed the company, we spent a lot of time on concept, branding, the artwork, the approach to the blends. We spent a lot of time in the office brainstorming before we even touched tobacco. So it was a good planning time. When we finally flew down to the Dominican Republic to work with Hochi Blanco, he owns Tabacalera Palma. He's one of the biggest growers down there. If you've smoked La Galera, that's his brand. So
Yep.
that was we've always had a good relationship with him through the retail side.
Hmm.
So when it came time for us to mess around and make our own stuff, he was our first and really our only phone call. They were still allowing travelers into the country. They were under curfew, but we could go down there, right? And so we went down and had a meeting with him, and he said, "My house is your house. Come on in," and gave us full run of the place. So it was a cool time, to
Hmm.
really the only thing we had to look forward to was sitting at home trying to entertain our kids and then building a cigar brand. You know what I mean? So we had a lot of time. It was great. And then we hit shelves officially in 2021. So
And I do want to talk about because you were talking about the art brand before you are sitting there coming up with the blends, and it's kind of like a two-part thing. But if you look at see, look, here's this. It is very, excuse my nail right there. That, and then if you look at the band, I mean the band is just beautiful. It's gorgeous. It catches
The
the eye
bands are just
thank you.
right there.
Yeah, we wanted them to pop, and I think that's where the retail experience comes in, right? You can have an amazing, $14, $15 cigar sitting on the shelf that gets overlooked because there's nothing grabbing your attention about it, right? So
Right.
for us, being a new brand is hard enough.
Mhm.
We wanted to make sure that we spent money in the right place when it comes to how the cigar looks, because if it's going to make you stop and look at it, you're already halfway there. So
Right.
it's we put a lot of effort into the branding. My partner designed the whole concept. Kendrick is really good creatively and artistically, so that was all him. He came
Mhm.
up with the concept. If you look at the band and you look at each little symbol that's on there,
Mhm.
you'll notice there's 8 symbols that spell out the word apostate. There will be, right now there's 6, but there will be 8 cigars in the core line by the end of next year. So each symbol represents one of the cigars. So when you walk into a shop and you see the trays on the shelf, the box has the individual symbol for each cigar, and it spells out apostate like a shelf talker.
Oh,
So
That's
it's,
very
wow.
yeah,
cool.
it's a little bit of more built-in marketing, right,
Mhm.
from the retail experience. So
Well,
Kendrick's
and
a smart guy.
we've talked about this before, where we've talked with other brands about how important it is to think about the business side and think about the marketing and the branding, because you can you can create a really good cigar,
Hmm.
but if the nobody knows about it because
Right.
you haven't built your brand, you
Mhm.
haven't marketed yourself, then it's not going to do you any good.
Yeah. Yeah. You've gotta be customer facing.
Mhm.
It really comes down to relationships with the retailers. That's our whole approach. Coming from the retail side ourselves,
Mhm.
you're not going to see us, on the big cigar websites selling cigars for $3 a pop. It's never going to happen. We want to build relationships with the people at brick and mortar spots who are building community and educating smokers and talking about tobacco the right way. So that's where kind of our whole approach comes from, because that's how we did it at our shop. So it.
I I need to take a brief moment and just talk about this. I mean, you can see that ash. That ash is, it's a nice white on both of ours, and seeing a white ash on a candela is rare. Usually we see a
Usually
black ash.
it's like a black or gray, a dark
Yeah,
gray.
it's a
Mhm,
black or gray, because that candela wrapper,
mhm,
uh, you've got to shock it to
mhm.
stop the fermentation, and so it's not a young wrapper. Typically, doesn't have to be a young wrapper, but it typically is.
It
But
typically is, yeah.
Mhm.
this construction is so beautiful on this. The color on this, the texture on the wrapper itself. It's not overly toothy. It's almost a little bit like a reminiscent of a Cuban, with how smooth the wrapper is. And
Yeah, and it's a very
this is
traditional. It's more of a Cuban size too, as far as Churchills go.
Mhm.
That's
yeah.
a 7 1/4 by 47 ring gauge, and Churchills, start at 47 and go all the way up to like
Mhm.
52. So we wanted to really make an elegant candela. It's called the Sword of Laban, right? So you want it to be long and thin and kind of
Mhm.
saber like, I guess. So yeah, the 47 ring gauge I feel is perfect for that blend. And for you to light a candela with a closed foot and it still has a burn line that's straight, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well,
That's very
that's
cool.
what I was looking at, and the crazy thing is I actually have a fan on me, so that's another thing is like when we talk about whenever you have a fan on you, sometimes there'll be
Oh yeah,
unit on that side.
on that side, yeah.
Yeah, so you have to make sure that you're rotating your cigar. And I'm gonna be honest, I haven't thought about rotating my cigar because like I'm freaking enjoying it. The correct what I'm not practicing what I'm preaching, right? So I'm just like, and when I saw it, I was like, damn, it like straightened up really
Yeah.
good, and
Mhm.
it's stacking, and it's a nice color because I candelas are like a lot of people are scared of candelas. First of all,
Yeah.
a lot of factories don't make them. A lot of brands don't
Mhm.
produce them because they're hard. Like the blend, it's like Sebastian with Cavalier. you know, he has a candela that he does that's for a particular shop, and I love it. And I said something. I said, "Hey, Sebastian," I said, "if you ever do a cigar, we ever do a cigar together." I was like, "Will you do a candela?" He looked at me and he's like, "Red, I love you, but no." He goes, "That was a nightmare to work with." He goes, "We'll do something else." And I was like, "Dude, you just like ripped out my heart and just like
That's funny.
stomped on it."
And it was on the show. It was on this show when he did that.
He shut
announced it
down on the air. All right. Okay.
Yes.
So we had a similar situation when we went down there. So the Feathered Serpent is our fourth blend. We made our first trip to the DR early 2021. We blended the first 3 cigars, and then we went back the next year and did the Feathered Serpent and started making plans for the others. And when we told Hochi that we wanted to do a candela, he straight up told us no. We were sitting in his office and we were like, "Hey, the concept for the Feathered Serpent, you know, serpent is a snake, it's green, right? So we want to do a candela." And he was like, "No, I don't like candela. We shouldn't do a candela." And we were like, "Dude, like, just let us mess around." You know what I mean? Like,
come on.
If we come up with a test blend that you like, if we come up with something that you think is good, can you do a candela? And he's like, "Well, yeah, I could do it. I just don't want to." And we were like, "All right, we'll make it easy for you. We'll do the blending. We'll pick everything. All you have to do is smoke it and tell us if you like it." And so we went out there and he had very little candela. He didn't have much at all. So he had enough to do the blending with us, and he had enough to do, you know, some test blends that we took home with us. He didn't have enough for production. So when we came back to the office, gave him the cigar, and he smoked it and ended up really liking it. He was like, "Wow, that's a good cigar." He basically had to turn around and grow candela for this cigar. So the wrapper on that cigar it's not typically when you smoke a candela, you're smoking, it's from Ecuador and it's a Habano seed of some sort. This is a Dominican Corojo seed grown in the DR. And I think you can tell probably already that it's not as light. It's not as fragile. It's a little sweeter. It doesn't have that grassy note. So the fact that
it's got a little bit of the hay, like a little bit of sweet hay is what it's just a tiny smudge. And and that's what I was like, it's not like your typical normal candela because of that. And like all the flavors that you were saying, that's exactly what I was hitting, that I was getting. And so we talked about, like, so the wrapper is that, and then the
binder is San Andreas.
In San Andreas. And so what are the fillers?
Fillers all Dominican. And we went basically no ligero. So we had to use different primings to make sure it would burn the right way. But you'll notice that as you smoke through it, not a lot of strength to the cigar, but it's very full in flavor.
It is.
You could smoke that thing first thing in the morning and have no problem.
That's one of the things that in our teaching, a lot of people immediately equate ligero to peppery, and we're trying to educate people, to trying to expand their thoughts on it. Ligero doesn't mean peppery unless it comes from Ecuador. I mean not Ecuador, but Nicaragua. Esteli, Condego, Ometepe.
It depends on where it was grown and which seed varietal you're talking about.
Yeah, which seed variety
is spicy.
Right.
Yeah.
But the ligero is going to give you full intensity of whatever flavor of that seed and that terroir that we're talking about here, where, you know, what region it's in. So it's interesting with that. I'm going to assume that you probably got quite a bit, you know, some visos in there for that filler flavor, and then some of your secos and probably the valeros for that combustion, because it's burning good.
It's basically viso and seco. That's it. And as far as the mix goes, I think I don't know, we used 2 different visos and I think 2 different secos. So it's heavy on the Corojo on the filler as well.
Yeah.
But it's Dominican Corojo, so it's sweeter. It's almost floral. It's got kind of a like a
and it kind of,
flowery finish to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of got that. It's like that floral from Paul Dorsey, because like Paul
There you
Dorsey,
go.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
it's got that, it's very full forward floral,
Mhm.
and I don't want to say it's kind of like a little bit of that honeysuckle floral from it
Yeah. Yes.
that you get.
Exactly. Yep.
So, and like for me, like I don't even want to drink anything because I don't because
one drink so far, and look how far down into it I am.
well, look, do you see this? Because like, and the thing is a lot of things is like whenever we're teaching people about like tasting in your palate and what are you really tasting. The first thing is we believe that it comes from psychology, like you smell
Sure.
something and it brings back memories. And
Right.
part of the reason that I love candelas, and I think that I'm just so candela. When I can get a good candela, I'm gonna smoke the hell out of it, and I'm gonna buy a whole bunch of them. And I think it's because like some of my best memories growing up was going to go visit my pop on his farm. He had
Mhm.
a dairy farm, so you have that sweet hay,
Yep.
you have the fresh, like when it's first cut. So
Yeah.
that's a candela. Then you also have that Dominican because of it's got that
Mhm.
earthy, all
Mm.
that taste to it. And then you go over to like where he had an arch of honeysuckles and blueberries. So I think honestly that like this is why I don't want to fuck it up. I
Yeah.
don't. I'll do one taste with it just to do it, but it's just like here I could just like kick back and just smoke the cigar without anything
I
because
love
to
that.
me that would be perfection.
And
And
if a cigar can take you out of your day and transport you somewhere, whether it's talking about your pop's farm or a memory you had smoking that cigar somewhere else during a good time. If a
right,
cigar can transport you and help
hmm
you escape life for a second, that's what they're for. So
exactly.
I love that. Yeah.
This one here, the blending that you got, that you came up with the Ecuadorian Corojo, which you don't see a lot of Ecuadorian Corojos.
But I
You
love
know,
Ecuadorian
I love Ecuadorian Corojos, but we typically see Ecuadorian Sumatras and
Uh-huh.
Ecuadorian Habanos,
Yep.
and
And
both of
Connecticut.
those,
Yep.
yeah, and yes, and the broadleaf too. Um, the the earthy notes on this, combined with the earthy notes that you get off of the San Andres, plus also the coffee and the chocolate notes that you get off of the San Andres, is just such a beautiful combination on
Mhm.
this one here. And I'm with Red. I mean, it's like I've got a beautiful drink here, and I've had one sip of it, and I'm just enjoying this. This cigar, it's coming in as a medium body. The flavors
Mhm.
are intense. The flavors are
Right.
full on it,
Mhm.
but the medium body, it's a very, I would say it's a very nice crisp cigar. It's like if it has a very calming, cooling
Yeah.
type type of a feeling to it, which is
Yeah.
really really nice.
Yeah, it should be an experience, right? And that's when we're in the blending room, we always blend for flavor. Strength is never a thought on our minds at all. So, Greybeard just lost his ash. It happens.
It,
But when we
it's a good thing, and
Look at
look
how
at
it
that
knocks
burn
off
cone.
too.
Look
yeah,
at that burn cone. I
Yeah.
mean,
perfect.
that is
Yeah.
beautiful right there. 3 years. 3 years, and really with these two, based upon what you were saying, because this is, you went down
So these
there.
are the newer ones.
Yeah,
These
this is
are
our
the
newest release. Yeah.
2021s.
Mhm.
These are the
Yeah, this is
2021. So really 2 years on these.
so these aren't even 2021. We started rolling these in 2022. The good thing about working with Hochi Blanco and the reason we picked him is he's very old school when it comes to his tobacco fermentation. So literally, the filler tobacco in that cigar is older than my company. The filler is all 5 years old, before it even sees a rolling table. So you're not going to taste ammonia. It's not going to taste green or fresh. Or when people say the cigar tastes fresh,
or bitter.
You're not going to taste any of that with an apostate ever. Everything is aged 5 years before it sees the blend, and then it's rested for a long time after it's rolled. We want you to be able to take it out and smoke it. I don't want you buying a bundle of apostate, taking it home, stuffing it in your humidor for a year before you feel like you can enjoy it. It should be ready to go. So that's
love that.
And I kind of want to add a disclaimer too, because we just got these in the mail. Was it Monday? Right?
It was Monday because I went to your house to pick them up yesterday.
Yeah. And normally whenever, for cigars, I like to let them rest in my humidor for a while after they've been through the mail, And so I was kind of like a little bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie. But like, here's my thing. Like, it feels like it has been in my humidor, like it's acclimated. And so, like, to me, that's very impressive. Like, when it can go through the mail and you can straight up smoke it like within the next day or so, and you're not having any construction issues, that's phenomenal, right there.
Yeah, we try to take care of them for you.
Yeah.
So when we come back, we're going to take a brief break here for our news and events. When we come back, I want to talk a bit about some of your original blends, and then also some about the inspiration behind the uniqueness and behind the symbols, as where that inspiration came from, because it looks like it has some very unique stories to it. But anyways, we'll get into that when we come back.
Well, we have a couple of news and events coming up. So I want to go first with events because
go for it.
That's the most fun. So if you are in the Nacogdoches area, and that is down in Texas, South Texas, they are having Smokeadocious. Am I saying it correctly? Tobaccodocious.
Yep. Tobaccodocious.
And it is an event. It's usually Friday. Friday night's the VIP party, and they kind of have this music, and you get your swag and everything. Saturday is when you have the vendors there, and you get all kinds of amazing deals. Like Drew Estates is going to be there. We know that Karen Berger is going to be there, and of course other ones. So you need, if you haven't gotten your tickets, there's still some available. They may be sold out. So go to that. It's going to be a wonderful event. Another event that we're having, and it is here this weekend on October the 21st at Lake Worth. I will be showing up for that, except for I'm not going for, as anything. I'm just going as a consumer and customer so I can spend my money. And they have insane deals on this.
Always.
Like, I feel like I'm stealing the cigars. I feel really bad for the companies, but not really, because I'm getting a heck of a deals. So you have like 262, you have Time Out, you have Ohana, you have Leaf by Oscar. I mean, that's just a couple of them that are coming to the top of my head. They also have whiskeys that you can try. Like, I think it's like $20 or $15, and you get all these amazing whiskeys that you can pair with your cigars. And another thing is, this year they're having a Cuban food truck that looks amazing. So come out there. It is from 11 to 5. They have phenomenal prizes, great raffling prizes. So make sure you come out if you're in the Lake Worth, Fort Worth, DFW area. Then December the 2nd, did I say the wrong name? December 2nd, Greybeard and Gabe with Leaf and Grain will be representing us, and they are going to Whiskey Fest, if I could talk, Whiskey Fest out in Vegas. So if you haven't signed up, go check out Whiskey Fest. Greybeard went and he had an amazing time. Got some phenomenal pours that were just like outstanding. Stuff you're not going to see. It's rare. I mean, just one of a kind. So make sure you go online. Tickets are selling fast, 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 super fast. So
Yes.
you probably don't get it by Friday, or I wouldn't even say tonight. Good luck. So those are the news and events that is happening. If you have something, please let us know, and we will be glad to share it and post it on our website.
So we got some exciting things on news as well, and I'm going to leave the big one for last. One of the first ones is that CAO is putting out their 54s box. The collection of Toro cigars offers cigar enthusiasts a range of smoking experiences from medium to medium plus. These are each 6x54s and represent CAO cigar making experience. And we know, CAO has been around the industry for a while. The Ozinger family, created it, originated it. Some really good cigars. One of my favorites is the CAO Brasilia. And looking at the box, they've got the CAO X3, which is the next version, really, of that Brasilia with the beautiful Modafina wrapper on it. So that's exciting. Um, Hardin's Creek is releasing a 3-pack. A bourbon. Hardin's Creek explores the bourbon terroir with a new 3-pack. This is put out by Jim Beam's Distilling. All 17-year-old and bottled at 55%. So that's 110 proof. I'm looking forward to this. I mean, I'm excited about this and those expressions. If you haven't tried Hardin's Creek, don't let the fact that it's Jim Beam. Jim Beam puts out some really good juice, and Hardin's Creek is right up there with it. I got to try some at the Bourbon Festival last year there in Kentucky, and I was just blown away. The big news announced today, we announced it on our website. You've already seen it announced on Cigar Aficionado, and Half Wheel has put it out. Luciano, you know how we're good friends with Luciano. He's doing amazing things with his cigars, and now he is stepping into the shop, the lounge, by doing a sponsoring of shops. And the first two have been announced. LTD, which is a very well-known cigar lounge in St. Louis. They've been around for a long time. I mean, very well known, very well respected in the industry. The very first one. And we get a Luciano sponsored shop here in DFW by our good friends Brandon and Dave Potts up at Industrial Cigars. And if you've been watching anything with Industrial Cigars, you know that they've been expanding, and it's really excited to go and see what's happening with that. So if you want to find out more about that, and if you've got a shop that you want to see if Luciano will sponsor it, go out to our website, hit the article on the front page of our website. There's contact information of how you can get that. And that is our news and events. Fun times. I mean, exciting things. There's a lot of exciting things coming up in the industry. I actually had to kind of pick and choose. Otherwise, our news and events section would have been too long. I tried to keep it down to 3, but I mean, there's cool things that's coming down in the wine side. Cool things that's coming down in the craft brews, especially as we're coming into the holiday season. So, I'm excited about what's happening right now in the industry. Without the pumpkin beer, there's some exciting things.
I had to throw that in there. So, so when y'all went down, you said you first released 4 of the original cigars, correct? 4? Was it the first round?
So our first time we did 3 blends.
Okay, 3
With
blends.
just right out of the gate we did 3, and
Okay.
then we followed up with the one you're smoking as number 4, and then the Sword of Laban was number 5, and then the Zarahemla that you were smoking before is number 6. We're actually going down about 2 weeks to finish up the last 2, so that we can get those out on the market next year. So we will have 8 blends before 2024 is over.
Very cool. So let's talk about the original one, the first one with the beautiful, because we said we wanted to go into detail about the story, the artwork, and all that. Because I mean,
Yeah, we can walk through all of them. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And the interesting blends, because like when I was looking through your blends, I was like, whoa, they have some really unique. It's kind of like what you were saying. It's like chefs. I don't want to say playing in the kitchen, but experimenting, because it's stuff that you do not see. It's like your blends are very unique, which I love.
Thank you.
By the way,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It is kind of like chefs in the kitchen. You know what I mean? When you watch, Chopped or whatever, everybody's got the same ingredients, right? And it's the same way in the tobacco world. I'm in a factory where La Galera is produced, Matilde, Samparai, La Instructora. You still got to have some aging room coming out of there, and now Apostate. So I mean, you're looking at a factory that's capable of putting out really good cigars, right? Everybody has access to Hochi's tobacco. It's just a question of what you're going to do with it, and it's the same thing for a chef in a kitchen. Somebody's going to use that garlic in a different way, right? So it's like, how do you bring everything together and make it interesting? And for us, it's always, look, we're not. People try to. I go on shows and they're like, we got the master blender Brandon with us, and I'm like, no, don't say that word. Like, I'm not a master blender at all. There are people who deserve that title, and I'm not on the list. My partner is not on the list. We blend a cigar until it tastes good to us, right? So it's like, we'll be in the room for as long as it takes for that blend and the idea we had of it in our head to match up, with our palate. And there's no real rule book. Some people will tell you there's a rule book that you shouldn't use these tobaccos with those tobaccos and stuff like that. You got people who live their life on the farm and in the field, and they're really good blenders. Look at Rafael Nodal, look at Nick Melillo, look at Steve Saka, look at these guys. I mean, they've been at it for decades. They know everything you could possibly know. I haven't put in that work yet. That's on the list. You know what I mean? We're going to do that. I'm going to spend time, and we're going to get there. But for right now, we are lucky enough to have access to good ingredients, and that's really all there is to it. So when we started blending, it was the first cigar with the red band is called the Initiatory. It's called that for a couple of reasons. It was our introduction into blending cigars. It's your introduction to the Apostate lineup. And for us, it's kind of welcome to a bigger world kind of thing, right? You go from the retail side to the manufacturing side, and the tobacco world gets a lot bigger. So it was an initiation for us in a couple of ways. It's also tied into our Mormon background, and most of our cigars are. In fact, all of them are. As far as the religious background goes, the initiation, the initiatory, refers to the first ceremony that you go through when you're allowed to enter the temple for the first time and do temple ceremonies. That's called the initiation, right? So if you look at the first symbol on the band, you see in that little oval, you see a handshake. That handshake is taken off of a carving that's on the outside of the temple. So it's it's thematic in that way for us. So that symbol represents the initiatory. That is everything we do is also one size per blend. We do 1 vitola per blend. So if you're a retailer and you're talking about bringing Apostate into your shop and your concern is shelf space, we've hopefully addressed that for you, because it's one size per blend. You're not looking at, is the Gordo or the Torpedo going to sell better than the Robusto? Doesn't matter, because we blended a Toro for you, and that's what you get. So it's a Sumatra wrapper from Ecuador, like we talked about, and then San Andres binder, and then all Dominican filler. That one definitely does have Ligero in it, and you can taste it. It starts off kind of peppery, and then it gets oaky, and then you settle into a nice cedar sweetness. Very traditional. That was the one that, like, Hochi kind of held our hand we didn't know what we were doing. So Hochi was like, well, here, I have some suggestions. Try these tobaccos. This is going to make a great Habano. And we'll go from there. So we took his recipe back with us. We tried what he laid out, and then we tweaked it so that it tasted how we want it to taste. Otherwise, we've got another La Galera cigar or another Hochi cigar, right?
Right.
If it's going to taste like Apostate, it's got to have our fingerprint on it.
Right.
And that's where, you know, we changed it to a San Andres binder instead of a Dominican binder. We changed the ratios of the filler so that you taste the Corojo a little more. You know, so that was our blending 101. You know, that was our intro into what it looks like to be a cigar manufacturer. So that's.
I want to get all of them, because these blends that you're talking about, I mean, you're absolutely right. They're unique. You don't see a lot of it. You don't see a lot of people that are doing San Andreas binders. You're seeing it a little bit more often.
Yeah.
You know, but still not a lot. You know, usually we see a lot of Corojo binders or Criollo binders.
Criollo, Corojo, yeah, all the time.
And typically those are your binders on it, which brings out great flavors. But to flip that around and to have a Corojo wrapper with a San Andreas. And even to go so far as, you know, the one I'm smoking, Ecuadorian Corojo, which you rarely ever see. Is or a Candela with, you know, a Candela which is, you know, is a light, very grassy, you know, a lot of times very grassy, sometimes sweet. And then to contrast that with the San Andres.
Yeah.
Mind blown.
That's where the rule book comes in, right?
Yeah.
If you're reading the rule book, and the old school blenders and the people who know better would tell you typically those cigars are going to compete with those two tobaccos are going to compete, right? It's not going to be ideal. The only competition I found in that cigar between those two leaves is sometimes in the burn, especially with the closed foot. The San Andres and the Candela sometimes don't want to keep up with each other, but that's, you know, one cigar in 20, right?
But I was like, I'm not having any issue. They're keeping up for me.
Yeah. I haven't really had a huge issue. I've had maybe one or two where it's gone a little crooked on me, and it's easy to fix with your lighter. So that's the thing is, when it comes to the rule book and like what people say traditionally you would do with blending tobaccos, we're kind of not interested. I don't. Yeah. To me, if it tastes good, it tastes good. I don't care what it's, you know. We're going to be in the blending room smoking each leaf and tasting the profile of each leaf. And then you roll your test blends and you tweak the ratios to get the balance right and the burn right. And if that all lines up and it tastes good, I really don't care which tobacco it was.
When you come into it, are you coming into it thinking, okay, I want a good one for a Toro Vitola, or are you coming into it and saying, okay, you know, as you're tasting the different Parejos, are you coming back into it and saying, you know, this would be really good as a Toro, this would be really good as a Torpedo? Because, you know, looking at it, I mean, you've got the Corona Gordo, which is what Red is smoking. I'm smoking a Churchill. You've got the Robusto, Torpedo. You've got the Toro. How are you coming up with the Vitolas for the blend?
So the Vitolas really are part of the whole theme, right? So the theme for the initiatory was, you know, that was our intro as far as blending cigars goes. It's the first ceremony you go through. It's allowing you access, right? So what's the most accessible size on the market?
That's it.
Toro, right? Toro. It's probably your number one seller. Toro, Robusto, they're right there.
Yeah, I would say Toro, Robusto.
So, those two, so it's accessible. And it honestly, it just came down to, like, when we come up with a blend, we already sort of conceptually have a size in mind, and we typically have a wrapper that we're really excited to work with in mind. So we take the size and we take the wrapper, and we sort of go backwards and figure out how that blend will work out in the end with those two factors in mind. So when it came to doing the Deseret number 2, our Maduro, that's a San Andres wrapper. It's got those little Connecticut accent stripes on it, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's got Nicaraguan filler, Dominican filler, and Dominican binder. And we wanted to highlight really sweet tobacco. So if you look at that cigar and you step away from it, it's got the stripes on it, and it's got a little pigtail, but it comes to a point, right? It's called the Deseret. When the Mormons settled Utah, it was called the Territory of Deseret. Deseret is a term from the Book of Mormon that means honeybee. So now Utah is a beehive state. Yeah. So we wanted to kind of pay homage to that, and give you a cigar that resembles a honeybee and has a lot of sweet notes. Honestly, there's a little bit of a honey finish to it with the sweet tobaccos we used from Jalapa in Nicaragua and Jacagua in the DR. So it's thematic that way. When you look at that symbol, it's a beehive turned on its side for the letter P, right? So there's the theme for that one.
Well, it's you're using the Olar binder, which we don't hear a lot about that, but that is that binder itself is really known for the sweeter, like you said, honey, and I've even picked up that fresh alfalfa, that fresh hay, those fresh cut grass notes out of the Olar, and you're using it as a binder. I've seen it as a wrapper. Very rarely, not a lot of people will use it, and it's one of the most well-known seeds out of the DR.
Right. It's one of the few native tobacco plants in the DR. It's a native seed, right? So that's when you want to know what Dominican tobacco tastes like. Olor is what you should try. It's got those grassy notes, those honeysuckle notes, that that floral note. So Olor is a really interesting leaf, and like you said, for us, I think to finish out our blends, we always pay the most attention to the binder. We have had several cigars. In fact, the two newest, the biggest debate about those two cigars was which binder to use, because we had several options that all worked, but which one gave it the right profile to bring to market. Binder is huge for us. We're blending for the palate, but we blend for the retrohale a lot too, because you get so much flavor when you blow smoke out your nose, right? So when you smoke an apostate cigar, the retrohale is on purpose. Everything you taste there was part of the process, and the binder makes a huge difference in how that retrohale comes across. So.
Oh, the retro on this one is insane.
Yeah. And that's what
the retro on this one is much sweeter.
And the retro is like on this is unique. Like it's I haven't ever tasted anything like it. I'm sitting here trying to think.
Tell me if you taste the honeysuckle you were talking about. I taste that on the retrohale with that cigar a lot. You get some chocolate notes and coffee notes too.
And that's what I was saying. It kind of marries the two perfectly. Like if you're going to sit there and say, and that's what it was. It was the sweetness of the honeysuckle and definitely the coffee beans from the San Andreas with a little bit of that bitter chocolate. You know what I'm talking about? Is that. Yeah. Yeah, that's what you get.
I loved it when you said honeysuckle. You saw how excited I got because I've used. I say that, and people look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, no, it tastes like honeysuckle.
No.
It's in there for sure.
It's in there. They took up honeysuckle.
Yeah, we put little honeysuckle right in the cigar.
And they just sprinkled it on there. Absolutely. No, I'm kidding, y'all. They didn't do that.
The retro on this one is coffee. Coffee.
Coffee with creamer, yeah.
But what's really interesting is at the very, very back end of the retro, you get that sweet note, and it's not the typical banana note that you will get off of an Ecuadorian, but it is a tropical fruit note. A little bit of citrusy, so I almost want to go a little bit of pineapple in here.
Sure. If it reminds you of pineapple, to me, it reminds me of sugared plums, sugared. There's definitely a dried fruit thing happening on the
Yes, yeah,
retro
but
hill.
but
Yeah.
the citrus
Hmm.
is what's kind of throwing me off on it, and it's not
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
it's very because it's got at the very tip of it, right up here, I get just a little bit of a
Hmm.
twang, a little bit of
Yeah,
twang.
yeah, yeah. How else do you describe that? I mean, it's a twang, yeah. When I get so the smoke on the palate from this that you're smoking is a little more savory, and then the retro hail is like dessert. It's very sweet.
Oh,
It's like two different cigars. Yeah.
it's very savory, and what's nice is that it's salivating.
Mhm. Yeah.
Doesn't
It's
dry you out.
salivating.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
dry me out. It's very
Yeah.
salivating.
Hmm.
When you find a cigar, little bit of education. When you find a cigar that's salivating, that's where when we say explore the pairings, jump on it.
Right.
Try it with difference. I want to try this with coffee. I want to try this
Right.
one with different
Right.
wines. That retro is almost taking me to the point where I want to say maybe go with a bolder white like a Chenin
Hmm.
Blanc.
I like a Cabernet with this one. A nice dark Cabernet. A
Mm.
Malbec is good. A Red Zin. Red Zinfandel is good with this one. I love wine. I drink wine more than anything else. And I love pairing that cigar with wine for sure.
Ooh, what about a Sangiovanese?
Mm. Ooh, that's bougie. All right. Yeah, I like it. I like it.
You
I'm gonna
may not
try it.
know. I'm a wine sommelier.
I love it. Perfect.
So I'm in, she gives me a hard time because I'm also a spirit sommelier, you
Right.
know, and all of my bourbons. And before we started the show, she's
Yeah,
like,
he's
"You
the
never
bourbon
bring
soup.
beer."
He does.
I
You
I
gotta
bring
you
my bourbons. I bring my whiskeys. You know, you have the Balvenie 12, which is just a beautiful
Mhm,
expression.
mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
when your palate pays the mortgage, your tastes go up a little bit.
yes,
But
indeed.
okay, and now let me like correct this because I don't like my kids make fun of me. Because I have adult children who are over 21. So
Nice.
I have an entire refrigerator dedicated to beer, uh, wines, all that stuff. Well, I have a wine refrigerator, Wineador. I have a beer refrigerator. Like my beer refrigerator is like ridiculous. Then I have, a whole shelf, like, so, not like what Greybeard has, but I do have my whiskey and my bourbons.
Hmm.
So I
She
Hmm.
do,
does.
I do that. But it's funny because my kids are like, "Mom, you have gross beer." It's because I pick the craft beer. I pick,
Yeah, they're not gonna like
I'm
it.
very
Yeah,
particular
yeah,
about it. Like
yeah.
I'm not gonna, and if you're liking the Coronas, if you like the Modelos, you like that stuff, that's for you. But it's not
Sure.
going on my
Yeah.
mouth. It has to have a
No,
certain
I
price
like those
tag
at
to
a
go in my mouth.
barbecue. Yeah, right. If I'm in a
Yeah.
backyard barbecue, give me a Modelo all day. But if I'm trying to have an experience, it's got to be on purpose, right? It's got to be a
Right.
little more deliberate. Yeah,
Right, but
absolutely.
If I'm at a
even
back,
with the backyard barbecue, I'm not gonna bring that stuff out. I'm gonna bring out stuff.
I'm not bringing it, but I'll drink it.
I
Yeah.
won't even
I'll,
drink it. I won't
I'll,
drink it. I bring my own.
I'll at a barbecue, I'm probably going to bring my Killigan's Red.
There
You
you
know,
go.
because I love my
I love
Killigan's Red.
Killigans. Yeah, absolutely.
Love my Killigan's Red at a barbecue. It's a great barbecue beer.
Hell
But I
yeah.
mean, it's like right over here, I've got probably about 150 bottles of whiskey
You got me
from
beat.
and then right over here in my fridge, I've got about 70 bottles of wine. And then I've got more spread out,
Yeah,
which is
throughout the
going to
house.
make my move here in 2 weeks hell. But
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining.
No, man.
I'm not
but
complaining.
here's my thing for Texans, and you know, we are serious about our barbecue. We're very
Oh
serious, like
yeah. Very
because
serious. Yeah.
I have my smoker. I
Hmm.
do beer can chickens, but I don't do the
Mm.
cheap beers. I create my own seasonings. I create my own blends, and I
Love it.
pair it to go with a cigar and a beer.
Love
So
it.
I mean, it's like and it's funny because I'll tell my kids, I'm like, "You're not drinking that beer. You're not going to have this. This is what you're going to pair with it."
Right.
You
Right.
know, because you have to have those flavors that marry. And like, and it's funny because my son-in-law, he was always talking about, oh, I like, going to Rudy's. I like which is a barbecue place. I like here. And my daughter was like, wait till you have my mom's burnt ends. And he's like, I'm not sure. Now he said everything he ever had was shit before. And now it's like anytime I have a day off, they're like, hey, can you fire up the smoker?
You want to make some burnt ends? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, do I have 24 hours?
Right.
So let's
just throw it in the microwave. Yeah.
Let's continue this conversation as soon as we come back, because it is time for the final verdict. All right, Red, you want to go first, or shall I go first this time?
Man, it was shit.
All right,
yeah, because
gotta go.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Because that fits your entire conversation in this first hour.
Yeah, based on the entire conversation. So, like, here's my thing is, as I stated, I saw the Candela. I was super stoked about it. Because, like, as we talked about it, it's fucking good. I mean, it's just like shit. I want to sign up for like 20 boxes of it,
Oh hell! There it is.
There it is. It's not just one. And the thing is like I've only smoked, like I've tried several different Candelas. I have, and you see, like Black Label Trading Company, like James Brown. He's always mixing in Candelas with that,
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
And he's got some great Candelas, like where he's just had Candelas.
Mm-hmm.
As I talked about earlier, is like Sebastian has one of my favorite Candelas there. And I've always said that nobody could beat Sebastian because I just love it. Like yours is so vastly different. It's so unique.
Mm-hmm.
That it's kind of like I love Sebastian's for what like old school Candela is like.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
this one is like so unique and so different. And I love the fact that it's unique. It's not the same. And it brings out different things. And it's kind of like, you get your base notes, but you go down a windy road. It transitions,
yes.
So it's like, oh, I had that, and then it goes to something else, and then it goes back to that first original one, but it's a little bit different, so it's not the same. Right. And to me, we talked about before the show, when you've been smoking for as long as we have, and you smoke a lot, you want something that's going to wow you and knock your socks off and be different.
Right.
And like this did it. This is kind of like, to me, I'm going to say like the Rangers Grand Slam home run, it's like, it's fucking amazing. So
what about the pairing? How did the pairing go? What would you suggest for pairings on this?
Did you even taste your drink?
Yes, I did. I actually, because like my beer was actually up to here. So I did. I liked it because it was a coffee, because it was a dark ale with the coffee. It was very enjoyable, and it really enunciated the coffee. It paired nicely. I would really like a Guinness with this.
Yes. Hell yeah. I've done that for you.
Yeah, I would totally go back to my Irish roots and do that.
Yeah.
Another thing is y'all might think I'm going to be crazy and y'all might going to like slap me, but I think a peaty Scotch would be very interesting with this as well.
I've had that. So I've had that with Lefroy, and it works.
See, now I was wondering about that, because Lefroy itself is low on the peat but really high in the smoky. So I was wondering about how that would go. I'm almost wondering. We host a bottle night at the Underground Cigar Shop once a month, and our last one was just this past Friday. And one of the guys brought out Taraveg, which is a Sky from the Isle of Skye.
Isle of Skye, yep.
And it's a very, almost a clear. I mean, it's just very, very light on the yellowing of the Scotch, and it's got a medium peatiness to it, not smoky at all. And I'm almost wondering.
Well, like this would be.
I think that would go really good, based upon what you're talking about it with, because I would even say a
What's the one we had?
We had an Ardbeg. So I introduced her into Petey's Sex. So I introduced her into a flight of Ardbegs, and I think Ardbegs would be really good. I would also be really interested in seeing how that would go with a Speyside. Not a Highlands, but a Speyside, because of the Speyside is so floral, where Highlands are a little floral, but it's a little bit more fruity. But Speyside is really floral with their notes.
Have you tried the Tom and Tool blended? It's
I love the Tom and Tool blended.
That would be really good with this, because then you get the best of both worlds.
Yes, yeah, because it's a blended of both Highlands and Speyside.
You get Speyside and Highlands, so you've got a little bit of the smokiness, a little bit of the Speyside sweetness. That might be a good one.
That might be a good one. All right, so I'm gonna do both of the ones that I smoked. So I started off with, before we even started the show, I started off with this one here, and this is the if I turn it up the right side, this is the, I can't pronounce that.
Oh yeah, the
Zarahemla.
Zarahemla.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zarahemla.
The blend, and we didn't talk about this one, but the blend on this one is a Pennsylvania broadleaf with a Cameroon, and not just any Cameroon, but an actual African Cameroon binder, which is something else you don't see. Talking about that rebellion.
I love it.
With both Dominican and Mexican. When I started off with this one, and Red can testify to this, I kid you not, very first thing I said to her within 2 or 3 draws of this one here, and you can see how much I smoked down. This is box press. Box press that is a 5.5 by 54. A box press Toro. Not even 2 draws into it, and I'm already telling her that this is probably on my top. It's definitely on my top 5, and most likely on my top 1. This one is like what Red said. This one is multi-box worthy. It is a phenomenal cigar. I mean, you don't hear me say this very much, but this one is fucking incredible. This one here. Right up with it. Both of these cigars are box worthy. I didn't pair the Z cigar with anything, so that was just straight. I've been pairing the Sword with a Four Roses, and the pairing is just outstanding. It brings out of that Four Roses those fruity notes.
Yeah.
And I'm talking, and what's weird is because I don't pick any stone fruit or any black fruit up out of the cigar, but it just takes that stone fruit, that black fruit. I mean, those blackberries, that elderberry, that all of those deep dark cherry notes brings it forward on the cigar. And I don't know if you noticed, but when I did the smoked version of it and blew the smoke into it, beautiful. Retro Hell.
Oh yeah, Retro Hell is Retro Hell. Hello.
Retro Hell, which we almost never say. I mean, we've said this maybe 2 or 3 times in our 100+ shows that we've done. The Retro Hell is actually calming. It's this one here. Now I didn't retrohale the other one, but the retrohale on this one is so. I hate describing anything as smooth because that's just
it is.
cop out. The retrohale is smooth. You can retrohale the full draw.
Yeah. And I
this
usually
one.
do, and we blend that way on purpose. We want, like I told you a few minutes ago, we want the retrohale to be a part of the experience, right?
So you don't want it to singe the nose hairs.
Yeah, I don't want you to get punched in the face. You know, this is not. It's not supposed to be like bam, you retrohale.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be as enjoyable as the puff on the palate. It should be a part of the experience.
I think you've heard. So we've tried the latest 3 releases between the two of us, and every single one of them are box worthy. I would do multiple boxes of both of these pairings. I am excited about getting more of these cigars and trying more pairings. And Red will tell you, I'm not one to smoke the same cigar multiple times. I want to try multiple pairings of this one, and that's a rarity. There's only been 2 other cigars that I truly want to try, and I have tried multiple pairings, and that is Luciano's.
Dreamer?
No, the one that starts with the L.
Luciano, the Dreamer?
No, one of Luciano's cigars and our cigar that we did, our own cigar, where I want to explore all the pairings with it. So there you have it. Final verdict. We've been hitting it. We have not come across a cigar in some time.
I know, it's been nice.
We have not come across the cigars some time now that we said, okay, this one needs to age a little bit. This one, we need to try this one in different Vitola. This hits the mark on every single point, and you explained why, but it's still mind-boggling how you guys, after only 2-3 years,
it's insane. No, I'm gonna say
have hit it. It is insane.
Because
thank you.
And my thing is like, I love the story behind it. I love, I kind of had a little bit of awareness just because, Brian and I are friends, and, we were talking about it, and, just different things. And the cool thing is, like, when I get to talk to Brian, we both geek out about cigars, just kind of, just that, and just enjoy hanging out and smoking cigars, and he was like, hey, you need to have Brandon on your show. You need to get the word about these cigars because he was like, they're fucking amazing. And my thing is like, well, if he says that they're really, really good, then, I need to try it.
Yeah, you trust your boy.
He lied.
Oh, yeah.
He lied.
He lied.
They're fucking phenomenal. And he told me, he goes, you're really going to like the Serpent. And he told me about the Candela, and I was like, oh yeah, because he knows I like it. But when I was looking at the box, I don't know, it just didn't register. And then I texted Greybeard, I was like, what the fuck, there's a Candela, woo. And the fact that I'm pairing it with I'm not pairing it with an IPA like I normally go to my Candela, and I'm doing it with a dark ale with coffee that's in it. And the thing is I hadn't tried coffee to the cigar that much. Well, I just did it. And the crazy thing is I picked up the chocolate, but I got more of that honeysuckle and that sweetness when I did it the other way. And that was just it was just beautiful. And it's kind of I'm interested to see how it would be with, different things. But I mean, now I need to know about the other ones because we haven't talked about the ball.
Let's end this because I would be remiss if we didn't end the final verdict.
Okay.
Okay, there we ended it.
And-
Before we get into that, I want to say what's really unique. Okay, so normally when you go drink a cigar, the drink is going to carry over into the
right.
cigar, and you're going to get some of those similar type notes out of it. Drink the cigar on this one. Now, granted, I'm drinking a bourbon. This is obviously a bourbon. Look at that color. It's
Mm-hmm.
four
Yeah.
roses. Here's proof. Bourbons are sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Bourbons have a lot of sweet notes, have a lot of,
Mm-hmm.
your honey notes, your vanilla
Your
notes, your caramel
molasses.
notes,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
your
Yeah.
molasses,
Charlotte
your fruit
apple.
notes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Drink to cigar. Wow. It
It's
brings
opposite.
forth it's like a contrast. I mean, this is one of the
Mm-hmm.
best
Yeah.
contrast type pairings I've ever had, to where drink
Right.
to cigar brings those coffee notes of the San
Mm-hmm.
Andreas just like bam right in your face on that, and I'm just like,
Yeah, and I mean
okay, yeah,
you being a sommelier, you're very familiar, right? When you're doing restaurant service and you're pairing a wine with a meal, similar notes are going to cancel each other out, right? So, and that's kind of I do a little bit of pairing and stuff like that. I work with a guy who owns the Wine Academy of Utah, and we do pairing seminars for bartenders and
Awesome.
restaurant servers and stuff like that. And that's we do spirits, we do wine, we do beer,
Woohoo!
and that's the overall experience is when you're pairing a spirit or a wine with food, the similar notes are going to cancel each other out, and you're going to be left over with what's not similar on both sides, right? So it's going to highlight if you've got an acidic fruit with an acidic wine, you're going to mute the acidity in both, and you're going to be left over with the
New taste.
what's happening with this cigar and this pairing is that you're canceling out the similar notes in the tobacco with the spirit, and you're highlighting what's different. And I love that. And that's on
yeah,
purpose.
it's beautiful on that, and you can get complementary pairings to where those similar notes will enhance each other.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it will just make it'll make that chocolatey note. I mean, it's like if I was to be smoking a San Andreas wrapper or Candela wrapper, which are both known for their chocolatey and their coffee notes, and I was pairing that with an imperial milk stout.
Right.
Then that's going to just really bring that forward as opposed to canceling each other out. When you can find a contrast pairing that really works, you have hit it. You have really hit it. And this pairing for me personally, this one is going down in the books.
I love it. Thank you. No, that's what we're going for. We want you to have a memorable experience. We want it to be as flavorful as possible.
Right.
We want you to sit down and forget about your life. We want you to enjoy what you're doing, who you're doing it with, and just that's what cigars are for. You know what I mean? It's a time out. Yeah.
Well, and my thing is like on this one right here, like, and it was funny. Okay, so I would put chocolate truffles with this.
Awesome.
Like a truffle.
Oh,
yeah.
I would,
wow.
Because I was sitting there thinking, like, what food would I do? I would do a chocolate truffle, you know. I would also do like I think a tres leche cake.
Okay.
Would be like really good. Now, as far as what I would like a steak that's still moving, like a blue seared steak. So when I'm talking about steak, I want to taste the hay. I still want to taste the cow needs to be alive. I don't eat like it was funny for my birthday. I went to the Brazilian Tejaste Brazilian steakhouse.
Yeah.
And when I asked them, I said, how raw can I get it? And they're like, blue seared. And I was like, oh, I love you.
Perfect.
And so they had like all the blue seared steak. They brought to me, like they gave me like a special. They're like, oh, she's a blue seared steak. I could totally do blue seared steak. I mean, and almost like, and you are going to like
Do like a beef tartare even. Like, go for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I
yeah.
was gonna say sushi.
Yeah, hell yeah. All
You
day.
could do like some sushi with this cigar, and it would be freaking phenomenal. And,
Okay, so
you just
I'm
thought
going to
that.
I'm going to take a different turn with on the food pairing. With this one here, I'm going to go down the cheese realm.
Please go down the cheese road. Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
I can absolutely see this with a nice soft goat cheese for one.
Yeah.
Soft goat
A
cheese
Gruyere with this? Oh man.
a Gruyere would be wonderful. A common Gouda or
Well, that's what
a Munster.
I was gonna ask how a Gouda would be.
I think a Gouda would
Yeah.
a Brie would be good, but what about this one here? An aged rugged white cheddar.
Hell yeah.
I think
'Cause
an
there's-
aged rugged white cheddar
the
to bring. You're cutting in and out, Brandon.
Oh, he's frozen. There he goes. There he goes.
All right, there
Let me
you
check my
go.
internet here.
Man, like
We
now,
back?
now I just want to go get some food. Like I want a steak.
Did we lose Brandon?
I think so. He's frozen.
I think we lost Brandon.
I blame it on Utah.
Blame it on Utah.
I'm blaming it on the Mormons.
You know, it's easy to blame the Mormons. No offense, Brandon, if you can still hear us.
He's not offended.
No, he's not offended. I think Brandon fits in well with the group here
know.
because I don't think that he's going to be offended on anything.
No.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Yay! No.
No worries, no worries.
No worries.
So you were saying. So I mentioned that the aged rugged and it's got to be an aged rugged white cheddar. It can't be just a standard white cheddar. It's got to be something that's going to stand up to the flavors on this. I
Get
really
like a nice
think
aged Irish cheddar. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think the sharpness of an aged cheddar with that cigar, with the one that you and I are smoking, would really bring forward the fruit notes in the cigar. Absolutely.
I think so too, because I think where we were talking about that contrast pairing where those similar because an aged rugged white is going to have a lot of earthy notes to it, and those are going to cancel each other, allowing the fruit notes of the cigar to come out, and coming from cigar to the cheese, it's going to allow some of those creamy notes that is in an aged white. An aged rugged white. This is going to allow those to kind of come forward a little bit more as opposed to where if you were just eating that by itself. Now you take that, you take that and bring that in with a very highly marbleized steak.
Oh my god!
A highly,
nice Wagyu.
You know,
oh man.
like a Wagyu, or Kobe. I mean, you bring that up. It's got to be marbleized because you've got to have those fats.
The fat. Yeah.
You got to have those fats in there.
Because those
you guys
juices
are
are really going to bring it out.
Oh yeah.
And so here's my thing: what nut would you pair it with?
So for yours, for the feathered serpent specifically, lightly salted cashews.
Okay, that's what I was gonna.
Oh my
say.
god!
Like I was gonna say that. And and here's another one, pistachios.
Pistachios would be great.
I think pistachios with hers. This one here, I would go with a cashew as well.
A cashew or a pecan? I would go with pecans.
I was gonna say pecan.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I was sitting there when you were sitting there talking about it. I was like sitting there thinking, what about those southern pecans?
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you could almost do it like a sweet pecan.
Yeah, you could do sweet or salty either way because a pecan is really fatty, right? So that fatty pecan is going to do what you were talking about with the marbled steak. It's going to do the same thing. It's going to bring out the sweetness.
But
what about a really earthy nut like a walnut or a chestnut? So something that brings
Mm.
out a lot of that earthy type notes to
Or like a
really meet
Brazil
up.
nut. Yeah. Mm.
Oh yeah,
I was gonna say
Brazilian
more
nut.
of a Brazil because it's got
Mm.
like a little bit of that sweetness to it, you
It's
know?
sweetness, but it's still very earthy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just got a hint of sweetness
To me, a
to it.
Okay,
Brazil nut tastes like the tree that it came from, right? A
Yeah,
Brazil nut tastes
yeah.
very
it is
woody.
very. It is
Um,
that. It is
mm,
like it's like you're eating the tree.
mm.
It's very was a very earthy. And that's why I was kind of thinking, I I would like to try this with maybe a walnut just to kind of
Yeah.
see how it would go. But I do have some hesitancy on that and thinking that maybe the cigar would actually overpower
Yeah, you're not at
the
risk
walnut.
of the nut. The nut won't be the thing that is overpowering the cigar. It's going to go the other way. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was thinking
absolutely.
it would be that.
So
We need to
Frederick
get
is.
to his other cigars. We haven't even gotten to his other.
Oh, I know,
Oh,
but
oh,
I do want
actually,
to.
oh. Hmm.
Whew.
Okay, War Eagle. First
That's
of all, War Damn Eagle. Yes, Frederick. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna
yes, Frederick.
War Damn
Yeah,
Eagle.
Frederick, the answer is yes. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
Brie. Oh my gosh, an
A baked
that
apricot.
brie with apricot. Oh my
that
God.
Uh,
that baked brie. When I saw him coming up on that, I don't know if you saw my expression, but I was just like,
Hell
okay,
yeah.
what
yes.
So
about
the
candied
the
toasted?
baked brie with apricot would actually go really well with the Deseret or Maduro. That would go really well.
Ooh.
Okay,
So what about
I
the
was gonna
bourbon
say
pecan pie?
Oof. Any of them. That's
any
going
of
to be great
them.
with pretty much any cigar you pick. That's going to be great. Yeah.
See, and this is the thing. I was like, shoot, we need to be writing this crap down so we can try all this because we're
We've got. I can take the recording and go spit out the text from it. So we can get that back. We
Mhm.
got some good stuff coming out on this.
So I want to know about the other ones because, like as I said, we got to the A, the P. Now we need to get to the O. So which one is the O on it? Because like I have the S with the, and you have the T.
I've
So
got
I'm
the
anxious.
tea.
So I'm anxious to see what the O is. And Brent, you're on mute. He's like, damn it. He's like, fuck.
I can't
Oh
unmute
my
you.
gosh,
You gotta
he's like, yeah, he's like, oh my gosh, I'm still muted.
you gotta unmute yourself. I can't unmute you.
He's like, I'm hitting it and it's not working. We were blaming the Mormons. We're blaming Utah. We're blaming the freaking Mormons.
We're blaming Utah on this one.
Yes, because they're talking about cigars on a podcast.
Hey, we're still on YouTube. YouTube hasn't kicked us.
Yeah,
Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
I know.
You're still muted, buddy.
He's like, I don't know what I did. I'm telling you, it's the Mormons. He's like, hold on, let me try this.
So, Frederick, what do you mean by WDE? All right, you're back. You're back.
Yay.
I'm back. Shit, I don't know what the hell happened.
Okay, so what about the O? I'm anxious to hear because so anytime there's a cigar that hits me and I haven't used this expression, there's an O factor for me because we know that women have their O factor.
Absolutely.
And yes, this hit the O factor in my mouth for those who are curious.
I love it.
So, I'm like, I think it was, it's totally O for me. So I'm anxious to know what the O and what this symbol is.
So the O
It reminds me of Star Wars.
Okay. What reminds you of Star Wars about it?
The O, because it's kind of like the Death Star with the ornament on it.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little Death Star-y. I get it. All right. So the O is our Connecticut. It's called the Liahona, and I got it right here. So you can see it's a 45 ring gauge torpedo.
Ooh.
In the Book of Mormon, the Liahona is a compass that is given to God's chosen people that functions as long as they're faithful to guide them to the promised land, right? So it's long and thin like the needle of a compass. So we called it the Liahona. And so that's our Connecticut. San Andres binder again, and then filler from the DR and a little bit from Paraguay. which is really interesting. It adds a really buttery, almost like buttered popcorn. It adds a really nice finish to it that we didn't get without that Paraguay. So adding the Paraguay was imperative for us on this one.
And you don't see very many cigars like from like the binders or any or fillers or anything from Paraguay. You just
you really don't.
Yeah, I didn't know that this tobacco existed until we were blending this cigar. We were missing something. It wasn't there. Mm-hmm. It just tasted like a Connecticut, right? So even with the San Andres binder, it wasn't hitting all the dimensions that we wanted it to. For us, and my partner will tell you, my partner's a professional musician. So when we're in the blending room, for him, it's like composing a song, right? You've got your bass, your treble, your mid. We want to hit all three notes, right? We want to hit all three sections. And this was missing some mid. It was missing something to even out the middle. And that's what the Paraguay did for us with this cigar. So it's I'm glad we found it, because it's not your grandpa's Connecticut at all. I'm going to smoke it right now.
And that's what I like about it, because like, here's my thing is like, this is like one of my favorite Connies is Black Label. They're porcelain. Like, because it's not, I'm going to say it's not your ladies Connecticut. I'm going to go with the ladies route, because like a lot of women tend, and I don't want to put a blanket statement because I'm not one of those women, but a lot of them are like, oh, it's lighter. It's not going to be that, I'm going to smoke that. And that is one Connecticut that, and we tell people, if you're going to smoke a porcelain, it's going to knock you off your ass, because it's all fucking in your face.
Right. And so before we blended this, the porcelain was my favorite Connecticut on the planet. Absolutely.
So to know that, that tobacco is in there, and, because there's not very many cigars, seriously, there's only, I can think of maybe like one other or two other cigars that have that, for real.
I believe the Cavalier White Label, I think, has some Paraguay in it.
Yes.
It does. Yeah.
I know there's another one that
there's another one. So, like, seriously, like, there's only two. That's why I said there's two. So now you're number 3. Yeah. And I love that you put it with the Connie, because I think, like, too many Connies taste exactly the same.
Well, and when we decided to make our own cigars, you have to have a Connecticut, right? So, like, you just have to. And we figured if we're going to do a Connecticut, a lot of times a Connecticut is a cigar that people will judge the rest of the line based on your Connecticut. And so you can't roll into a blending room and just half-ass it.
No.
We had to make sure that it was in line with the rest of our blends flavor-wise. It holds up. I can smoke this cigar any time of day. If you want a nice heavy steak dinner, a really savory, rich dinner, you can still smoke this cigar after, and you're not going to feel lost. It's not going to feel like it's too light. I get to the last third of this cigar and get a little dizzy. You feel it. It's a good cigar. It's not quite as heavy strength wise as the porcelain, but almost. It's almost there.
How many Ligeros do you have in there?
Just one.
See, I'm thinking like the way you're describing it, it would be good something with like an herbal, like
it's a very herbaceous cigar.
But like what I'm sitting there thinking is like Irish stew.
So, like, food-wise, hell yeah, or like a shepherd's pie or something, right? And then as far
with that
as
red wine and Guinness beer.
So what will surprise you about this, as far as like beverage pairings go? I have had this cigar with gin and Blanco tequila, and they both are very good with this cigar. It brings out, you said, those floral herbal notes. You really taste those in the gin with the cigar.
Now, are you talking about a dry gin, or are you talking about a floral gin?
More floral, not a dry gin.
More floral, not a dry.
You're not going to want Bombay or like Beefier with this. Go something like gin is cool, because you can find a lot of small batch, like your beer.
Like lavender.
Yeah, you can find a lot of craft gin out there.
Yeah.
There's a couple distilleries in Utah that are really killing it with gin right now. So like Sugar House Distillery, Dented.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, Dented Brick is another good one. They both have phenomenal gins that are really high in those juniper and lavender notes. And when you smoke this with it, the butteriness of this cigar and the herbal notes in this cigar really highlight what's happening with those gins. And the Blanco tequila too. Casamigos Blanco with this, phenomenal.
There's a Texas gin, and it's a dry gin, but it's a Texas dry gin, and it is got lots of really nice, heavier, woodsy, plus also oily type notes to it. That sounds like would go good with that cigar.
That really good. So I'm gonna be in DFW in December. So we might have to hang out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When in December? Please don't say it's the weekend of the 2nd.
No, it's the second week of December. So I'm flying out. So I've got an event in Waco on the 16th, but the week leading up to that, I'm going to be in DFW.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Hanging out with Brian too. Brian's going to be showing me around. So
okay.
We need to meet up at the underground. That way you can see the underground cigars, because I want to get you into the underground cigars. No, and the boutique capital.
I've talked with Mr. Don over there and sent him some samples. So we'll see if we can't make some headway over there. Hell yeah!
Awesome.
Well, we will.
Thumbs up.
That's because you're on your phone. My PC doesn't do that. It's like, what the hell are you doing there? That's a long ass thumb there.
That's a big old thumb.
That's a. Well,
yeah. So I'm
6'5".
Yeah, he's 6. Yeah.
Everything's in proportion. I get it.
So we talked about the S, the T.
So the S is the Candela that you're smoking. That's the feathered serpent. If you're familiar with like Mesoamerican folklore or whatever, Quetzalcoatl, is also known as the feathered serpent. A lot of Mormons like to co-opt that story and say that when the Mayans or Aztecs were trying to describe Quetzalcoatl, that they were really talking about Jesus Christ, and they're trying to reaffirm their own beliefs that Jesus visited the Americas, and they're saying, well, they didn't know how to describe Jesus, so they talked about this white bearded god who's now known as Quetzalcoatl or the feathered serpent. So that's kind of where our beliefs tie into that Mesoamerican story.
Very cool. And then the tea we talked about, So
the tea is the sort of Laban that he's smoking and that I started with.
Well, I've gone back to this one.
All right.
I finished the tea, so I'm coming back to revisit this one.
There you go. So the tea being the sort of Laban, that's another Book of Mormon story. There was a guy named Laban who was holding on to a set of brass plates that was basically the record of the people that the Book of Mormon talks about. One of the main protagonists in the Book of Mormon is a guy named Nephi. He was commanded by God to basically get the plates and take them with them when they left Jerusalem and went to the Americas, right? And so in order to do that, Nephi killed Laban with his own sword. He found Laban drunk in an alley. He stole Laban's sword. He cut his head off. He put on Laban's clothes, took Laban's sword, went and found Laban's servant, and then took the brass plates, went back to his family, and got the hell out of Jerusalem. So that's where the sword of Laban comes from. And then the Zarahemla that you're smoking now is basically, and I've got one right here, that is basically the Book of Mormon's version of like Sodom and Gomorrah. It was a city in the ancient world that was thriving, but got wicked and so got destroyed. So that's the Zarahemla.
Is that the pyramid?
Yeah, so that's the pyramid, and it's box pressed to remind you of a stone or a brick in the building of a pyramid temple, right? So, everything is sort of thematic that way.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about, which is we brought this up a couple of times, that we hate and love. We hate when you can't take the band off without it ripping apart.
Me too.
So this is 2 cigars that I've taken the band off that I can now put the band into my collection and uh, and add it to it, and it didn't rip the cigar off. What was interesting on this is because I did a V cut on this one here, and the V cut was, I wouldn't do a V cut necessarily on this one because it did go a bit too deep on it, and it did rip through the cap on it.
Yeah.
But as I peeled the part of the cap off, you notice, I mean, I peeled part of the wrapper off. It's like it's double wrapped.
Yeah, it's
because
got a quadruple cap on there. Yeah.
I'm not seeing the binder
Right.
coming through on this, which is nice, and I'm able to hold it and still keep the whole construction of the cigar together on this. This is not a construction problem. This is a user problem.
Right.
I cut it too deep. It cut through the capa, but the cigar's not unraveling too bad on me that I can't control it. So that does talk about the quality of the rolling, which is something that you don't see very often. So another shout out to your rollers that's doing this, is that they've done a good job on this. And you can see I'm not, I mean, you know, you can see here, you know, where it's coming off, and I still got the wrapper in there.
Yeah.
So it's also almost like the wrapper went around it more than once. It wasn't just a single rolling on it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So for someone who has never had any of your cigars, which one would you recommend to introduce them to your cigars?
Start with the initiatory. Yeah, we call it that for a reason. I think if you smoke the initiatory and you like it, it's as straightforward as a Habano can be, with our interpretation added on top of it with that San Andres binder. I would say the initiatory, if you smoke that one, it's going to give you a good idea of what's in store, and you're probably going to want to try all of them. The other one would be the Liahona that I'm smoking now. Look at the construction on that. Like, when you see
that is
a Connecticut with ash that white and a burn that straight, I mean, yeah, the Connecticut is a great introductory cigar overall, maybe even for somebody who's never had a cigar. If you hadn't, because you're looking at a 45 ring gauge 6-inch cigar, this is going to take you 45 minutes. It's going to be mellow and creamy, subtle, smooth. It's a perfect intro cigar. So if the initiatory maybe is a little too much because it's a Toro size and it's a Habano with a San Andres binder, that one probably nicotine-wise might be our strongest cigar. It's still only a medium at most, but you got to start with the initiatory. Start from the beginning and work your way down.
And I like how, like, the thing is like, to me, and we've talked about it, is like when people put so much thought behind how they're going to introduce the stories behind it, the look of it, you know, it's going to be a damn good cigars.
That's the goal.
Especially, you know, and I love the fact that, you know, how you talked about, it's like, we're rebellious, we're kind of sticking it through. It kind of goes back with, like, you know, and I hate to say this, but it kind of reminds me of like Sin and you know how she is. It kind of reminds me of James, the Black Label, you know, all of that.
I'm a little bit of a Black Label fanboy. I don't know if you can tell. I've got the logo on my neck. You know what I mean? James and Angela have been an inspiration to us. Well, to me at least. It's one of those, like, we care about cigars, we care about the community. If we're gonna do this, if we're gonna sit at the table and say, hey, we're here, we want to be a part of the game, we want to bring the appropriate amount of reverence to the game and make sure that it's an experience that's worth your dollars. I mean, at the end of the day, you're paying $14 to sit down and enjoy something. If you've paid $14 for it, it should be good. It should be memorable. We don't want you to walk away from it with a bad experience. And I think we're doing all right. I think it's in line.
Which is an incredible price point.
Yeah.
It's an incredible price point on these cigars.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So if you're wanting to find some of their cigars, right there, go to it. Go to the retailers link, and you will see all of the retailers on it. If they don't have any retailers in your area, then contact Brandon directly, and he's got the information of how to contact him, and they will start working on it.
Yeah, there's an email form right on the website. You can email me. I'll let you know where you can get it. If there's not a retailer in your area, there's options. And we'll make sure that you know what those options are.
Can you tell us any about 2024? I mean, because your website, when it comes to 2024, we see that we've got the Moroni's Trumpet and the Endowment coming in 2024.
Yeah.
There's nothing about those two.
Yeah. So those have not been blended yet. We're leaving in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We're going to be back in the factory with Hochi. We're going to be coming up with something a little different for you guys this time around. So the last two blends, we want to round out the core line with a bang. I'll tell you right now that cigar number 8 is going to be a little bit higher price point. It's going to be closer to like, 17, 18, maybe even $20. We want to really put a lot of good ingredients into it. So the Moroni's Trumpet, what we do know is that we want it to be a Maduro. And we know the size is going to be sort of Perfecto Salomon.
Ooh.
So Moroni, if you've ever seen the Mormon temples, the golden angel that's on top, that's Moroni. Yeah. He is supposedly the herald who will show up and blow his trumpet to announce the second coming of Christ. That whole thing. So he's on top of all the Mormon temples blowing his trumpet. We want to sort of capture that vibe with the size. And make sure that it, maybe it's like a 54 in the mouth, maybe a bellicoso that flares out to a little bit bigger and then tapers back down. So it'll be sort of trumpet-esque in size. And the endowment, that's actually the last ceremony that you go through when you go through the temple. When you've received the full temple rites and you're a fully fledged member ready to go all the way to the top of heaven. They call that the endowment. And so that one is going to be a Connecticut. It's going to have where I've got a blue band here. You've got an orange band on the Z. You've got a green band on the Serpent. This one's going to have a nice white band. It's going to be nice and pure. Probably going to be a Connecticut. The only thing we're not sure about is the size. We don't know.
Now,
Lancero.
So the Sword of Laban was supposed to be a Lancero. That was our original plan on the Sword of Laban, to do a nice long, thin Lancero. The issue there is looking at, market info and sales info. A lot of people really like Lanceros, but it's usually the least well-performing side in a lineup, right, as far as sales. Yep. So we want to bring something to the market that is accessible and will have turnover and have sales.
Right.
But I really want to blend a Lancero. It's top of the list.
And that's the sad thing is, like, a lot of people, they see it, like, when I worked retail, a lot of the men, I'd be like, oh, because when I worked at the cigar lounge, we have a huge Lancero section, just like one whole wall of Lancero.
Good.
And the men would be like, well, I need something in my hand.
Exactly.
I need something manly.
Exactly.
And I'm like, if you need something, and I said, first of all, a woman's not looking at you, looking at, I would rather see a Lancero in a man's mouth than a huge,
than a 6x60 or a 7x7.
Like a lunatic or something.
Right now, our biggest ring gauge is a 54, and I don't.
And I love that.
See it going bigger than that, right?
No, it loses its flavor.
Yeah, it's not something that appeals to us.
Right.
There's a certain balance between, like, blending something for the market and blending something that you would smoke, right? And we try to rely heavily on our experience as tobacconists on the retail side. Yeah, you've got your guys who really like a 6x60, but they're as common as guys who like Lanceros. You know what I mean? So Those are two very niche sizes.
Yeah, but it was amazing because I convinced them to try it, and they would come back and they were like, "Oh my god, it's the best cigar! I can't believe." And I was like, if this is, I mean, they would come back for more, and I would explain to them. I said, "You're getting more of the wrapper. You're getting more of a cigar.
You're getting more binder. You're getting more wrapper. The filler takes a back seat, and you taste what you're supposed to taste. That's why I like this one. It's a 45 ring gauge. When was the last time you smoked a 45 ring gauge?
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah, exactly. So 45 ring gauge Connecticut. I mean, for me, the thinner the better. That's just what I prefer. I like a Corona. I like a Lonsdale. I like a Lancero. I like a Churchill because you're tasting more of the wrapper and binder and less filler. It's like a sandwich, right? I don't necessarily like. Sometimes the bread is the point. I want to taste the bun or I want to taste the bread. I don't know. It's one of those like we definitely want to blend a Lancero.
Yeah.
We have talked about that as those that want that double Gordo, that 660, 770, 880. Those are people who smoke cigars.
Yeah.
The cigar smoker, the ones that smoke like what we do, multiple cigars a day, where we're wanting to really get into what the cigar has to offer, we're going to go for those 54 ring gauges and below.
Smaller,
I mean, I'll even do every now and then you can find a 56 gauge, Toro. Got no problem with that.
Right.
When you get up to that 60 and plus, I'm typically not going to smoke that because you're missing out on so much of what the cigar has to offer.
And see, the problem with that is odds are if you're smoking a 60 ring gauge, it was not blended originally in that size. So the blend was probably a Corona, something in a 46, 48 ring gauge when they're testing the blends. And then you just have to tweak the blend to make it bigger, right? So you're not getting the same cigar. It's not the same cigar that was blended. It's different.
Exactly.
You're going to lose flavor. For me, the draw is way too open. I like a little resistance, so I feel like I'm smoking something. And it's not comfortable. 60 ring gauge in your mouth for an hour and a half. I mean,
it's
lockjaw.
I don't like it. Yeah.
I don't know what it's like to be a woman. See, that's what I think. When I see a big ring, that is, I'm sorry, my mind goes there. And I'm not going to say I'm sorry because I've had men DM me, why don't you do the bigger? I'm like, you pervert. I know why you want me to do the
I know why. I know why you're asking me that. Yeah. So for me, it's like, if you like that size and it smokes for you and you feel, I think most guys just feel like they're getting the most bang for their buck. Right. I think it's one of those value situations where you spent $12 on a 6x60. It's going to take you 2 hours to smoke it. You've got a lot of tobacco in your hand and in your mouth, so you feel like you've got a good deal, right? Well, if you're looking for bang for your buck, get a 50 ring gauge Churchill. It's the same thing. It's the same amount of tobacco. Right? It's an inch and a half longer, so you've got more tobacco there, and you're not cramping your jaw and holding it all weird. I just don't like 60 ring gauge. I feel like it's missing the point.
And that's what, as a tobacconist, that's where you've got to educate. That's when you educate your consumer.
And at the end of the day, people like what they like, and that's fine.
Smoke what you want. You're gonna, smoke what you enjoy. Smoke what you want. I was talking to a guy the other day, Sunday, and he brought out an Asylum 13. Never smoked one that big, and he's like, "How long is it going to take me?" And I said, "It's going to take you probably about 3 hours. 3 hours to smoke that. That's an 880. It's a huge cigar. They do it good. They do a really good job on it because you can pick up some of the flavors on it.
Yeah.
But a lot of blenders who will blend a big cigar like that, like you said, they probably have blended it for a smaller ring gauge, like a Robusto, a Corona, even a Corona Gordo, like what you've been smoking, Red. And then they've made a bigger Vitola of it, tweaking it, but not really tweaking it to where the fillers are really bringing out the binder and the wrapper on it. And so you're smoking tobacco.
Right.
Which
And that's
sounds
fine.
kind of weird because we're all smoking tobacco,
Right.
but you're missing out you're missing out on the nuances of it.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. No, and like I said, bottom line, everyone, there's a cigar for everyone. There's a smoker for every cigar, right? So whatever people put out, someone's gonna like it, and that's cool. That's great. That's why we're all here.
Yep.
Right. Right.
So we had a different kind of comment, and I have to say this is the first comment in question that I've ever seen on the show.
Oh, I'm nervous.
You got great style, Brandon. Where do you get your style inspiration from?
That's so funny. Honestly, life's short. Wear what you want. You know what I mean? Whatever makes you feel comfortable, whatever makes you feel cool. That's what I try to do. I when I get dressed for the day, whether I'm going somewhere or staying at home, I like to feel good. And if that means I'm wearing something that makes me look good, that's the direction I go. Couple of comparisons. I have people. The most common feedback I get is that I remind people of Opie from Sons of Anarchy, which is a huge compliment. I'll take that all day.
I love Opie.
The other day, I had somebody tell me that I reminded them of like a motorcycle preacher, whatever that is.
That's what I was getting. I was like, with the silver chain, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, he's got that. Have you ever? Okay, so I love Sons of Anarchy. Phenomenal music. So almost did Here Comes the Murderer.
Here Comes the Murderer. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, almost did it, but I couldn't get it timed right with the video. I mean,
okay.
So
that's one of my favorite songs. White Buffalo is a great artist.
Oh my God. You remind me of White Buffalo.
I'll take it.
If White Buffalo had a dark side, that's totally you. Because like when I was looking at I was stalking, looking at your picture, I was like, oh my God, he's got my Sons of Anarchy. So that's why I did the House of the Rising Sun.
Love it.
I was just like, oh my gosh, it reminds me, it's that total White Buffalo, Sons of Anarchy vibe, kind of like the motorcycle, except for he's more of like, because the black with the white, the cross chain. I was like, he's the preacher of them, trying to set them straight. But not, he's still going to be crazy with them, but he's not going to go as crazy as what they do.
Yeah, I'm not guns at anybody, but I'm down for some rowdiness, whatever. Yeah. It's all good.
What's funny is when I did the video just before we came on, and I was smoking this cigar, showing it. And I'm sitting there looking through the music, and it's like I need something that just hits me with this cigar. And I saw Thunderstruck by AC/DC, and I was that's it. Okay. If I had to pair a song, and our buddy, one of our writers, and and a friend of ours, we both write for Whiskey Network magazine, and he writes for us on Leaf and Grain. He's always pairing his cigars with music too, so he'll do a full pairing, and so he'll pair it with music, and it's like, okay, what song hits this cigar? Thunderstruck. Yep, Thunderstruck. That's it.
So I'll do the same thing when I get dressed for the day and I get in my car and I'm on my way to the office. I will usually pick like a theme on Spotify based on like how I feel based on what I'm wearing, So it's a lot of like Southern Gothic rock stuff, like the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, White Buffalo, Chris Stapleton, stuff like that.
Yes, and that's kind of like another thing is like is like music for me and like I know Greybeard too. Is like that music when you have like the music, cigar, you set your mood, your food, your drink. Oh yeah. It's like a utopia. Yep. It's kind of like it's an out of body experience.
I love it.
And it's like you're getting away from reality, kind of like what we talked about. That psychological, you get your memories, you have all that stuff, and it's like for me, a lot of times it's the only best way I know how to describe it is I'm leaving my thoughts, my stress, everything outside so I can have a moment to enjoy. And that's kind of like what we've talked on the show. Like I have 5 kids. It's so funny because everybody always asks me, are you Mormon? That's my number one question.
I have 5 kids too.
And they're like, you're Mormon? I was like, No, my brother's Mormon though. My brother is Mormon. He's a musician and all that stuff.
I love
And I'm like, no, I'm allergic to latex. So like that's that's the joke. So but it's true. But like for me, like my kids can know when they can have a serious conversation with me is because they know when I'm chilled in the lounge, smoking a cigar, having a beverage, listening to music, that is the best time
Yep.
to have a conversation with mom because she's not stressed. She's
Right.
like at her most relaxed.
Yeah.
And,
It's
and I
funny
think
because
that's
like you're constructing your own world, right? Like when
Mhm.
that's for me, like cigars is Minecraft. It's you're building your space. You've selected something that you want to enjoy. You've got a drink that you want to go with it. You've got the music that fits your mood. You're
Right.
in a space that you've curated to be whatever it is that you want to be in, however you want to feel. It's escapism, and I love that.
It's exactly.
Yeah, and we need that.
Yeah. And I
Okay,
think that's
so
why we're so chill.
the cigar finally decided to unravel on me, and so I'm down to the fillers now. So now I'm going to really be able to smoke the fillers and see what the fillers are like.
Oh yeah.
But did you see? Okay, now here's my thing. I nubbed it, so I
You
couldn't
did.
do anymore. And it, and I haven't nubbed a cigar in a very long time. Like
Awesome.
seriously, I want to say I probably haven't nubbed a cigar probably like in at least 4 or 5 months. And
That's great.
So-
it's not to say that I've smoked like non-good cigars because some of them have been my favorite. But it's just kind of like, I think whenever I nub a cigar, it's for a special cigar.
Mhm.
And you can't nub every cigar. I want to
No.
make that clear.
I don't nub every cigar. I usually finish, somewhere in where
Right there.
the falls,
Like
somewhere
an inch and a half.
or two, right? And I'm not normally burning my finger on the
Right.
cigar. But where you're at, I mean, that you're at a point where you didn't have much to hold on to there. I still would have been puffing on that, and I do that with the Zarahemla that you're finishing up right now. I nub that cigar almost every time I smoke it. I can't put
Well,
it down.
I wouldn't
can't wait to
nub
try
it, but I want to. We don't ever get the opportunity, and I know we're over our 2-hour mark, but
It
we don't
doesn't feel
ever. We don't ever get the opportunity to show what the fillers actually look like. So I want to.
Yeah,
This is
do
this is the fillers of it, and you can see how how beautiful it looks.
Mhm.
You can't really tell the way that it was rolled on here, but you can tell. I mean, I can look at this and I know that this was done accordion style, based upon how it's coming out on it.
I was going to say it's an accordion.
which is best for a box press, right? So.
Oh, it absolutely is. Well, one of the things that I don't like to see when, and we do a lot of cigar reviews, and what I don't like to see when I see a rolled, a bunched up press or a rolled, a rolled as opposed to an accordion, is to where the construction is really tight on one portion of it and then looser on the other, because that's usually a lot of times that's where we'll get canoeing.
Yeah.
That's part of the construction.
Right.
I could tell that the construction on this one is just absolutely beautiful on it. I'm wishing that I had not cut through the cap on it, because I would be nubbing this, but
You would have nubbed it,
Yeah.
again, this is me and the way that I cut it, and this
Right.
is why it is so important to, no matter the cigar, no matter the type of cut, you've got to pay attention to where the cap is and where the lines is on it. The cap line is. You just can't, even in a perfect cut.
Right.
A perfect cut, where it has the backing on it, you still have to pay attention to it, because, where I used a V cut, and I'm using the Colibri, but you can
And
see
you have
that's
a deep
really
V.
deep. I've got a deep V.
Yeah.
I should have gone, should have been paying attention, which I wasn't, and done a little bit more of a shallow type cut with it, or adjusted the angle that I was coming with it to not cut through that cap on it. So you got to see firsthand of what happens when you do cut through the cap. But you can see I got it all the way down to the nub.
Yeah.
Right.
Before it unraveled.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Yeah.
All right. Final question of the night. We're going to close it out on this one here. Do you have a favorite place where you like to have a cigar?
Oh man, yeah. I guess it depends. You know what I mean? It depends on how I'm feeling. I guess as far as like highlights go, like favorite place I've ever had a cigar. You really can't beat smoking a cigar in its native environment. When I'm in the Dominican Republic, man, smoking a cigar on the beach in the DR is just about heaven for me. Other than that, I have a smoking room in my house. I'm in my office right now at upstairs behind Beehive Cigars. There's, as long as I'm comfortable, I'm pretty good. I don't like smoking in like random spots, like at a park or shit like that. I just don't feel like I can relax. As long as I can fully feel like I'm in my element, I'm in a good space that's feels like my space. I'm good.
Yeah.
Highlight for me, Hawaii, the beach in Hawaii and the beach in the DR. Those are my two like top cigar experiences.
Well, and I was gonna say, y'all get snow like 6 months out of you, because like my niece lives out, and my niece grew up, in Utah. I said my brother, and same like Mormon church and all that stuff. And in fact, she lives in Provo.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Utah. And in fact, where she owns land, she and her partner have gorgeous land where you can take like natural springs bath.
Hell
and
yeah.
it was given to them. He used to tour with the Grateful Dead, and it was given to them by the Native Americans.
Love it.
So,
Love it.
I mean, but she sends me pictures of like, and she's like, "When are you gonna come visit? When are you gonna come visit?" And I'm like, "Girl, I'm gonna have to go in the dead of summer." Because like even in the spring, it is too effing cold for me. I don't do cold.
We don't really have spring.
But you have gorgeous. Yeah, you don't. It's like winter and then summer.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
fall this year.
The snow is insane. The snow is insane.
Yeah. So fall this year has been really good. We've had some nice days. It's been mid 60s the last week or so. So that's about perfect for me. But yeah, we have basically 6 months of winter and 6 months of summer. And not a lot in between. So it can be hard to smoke outside for half the year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, y'all don't get that. But y'all do have gorgeous scenery, though.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. I love Utah. It's good. Yep.
Yeah. I was going to ask, do y'all have rules about smoking outside? Because I know like some cities in California have rules that you can't smoke outside. Because I know they're very strict about things. I was wondering if y'all had that.
There are like some cities where if you go to like the city park and it's a public park, you can't smoke there. But for the most part, if you're outside and you're 25 feet from an entrance, you're good. I smoke when I'm walking the dog. I smoke most places. If I'm outside, if I can get away with smoking, I'm going to. It's really hard when you're looking for a place to sit down, though. A lot of bars, you can go to a bar if they have a patio. They're going to let you smoke on the patio.
Okay, cool.
It's pretty accessible. Just depends on time of year. Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
So you sound a lot like you take life the same way that I do, where I ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
100%. Yeah. I'm going to light up and I'm going to smoke, and if it's a problem, someone's going to tell me it's a problem. If nobody tells me it's a problem, I'm going to do my thing. Yeah.
Well, and I will absolutely, go to a park, sit down on a park bench, or sit at a picnic table and light up. And what's funny is I find when I'm doing that, I've got people that will come by and stop and say, "Hey, can I join you for a minute?"
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And sit down and just have a conversation with me. And it's because I'm smoking a cigar. If I wasn't smoking a cigar, people would be like, "Oh, I'm not going to sit down and talk with this guy."
On a bench. Yeah, you just be a guy on a bench. And that's what's funny is like when my wife and I went to Hawaii last year, And so we did a little bit of both. We did like the tourist area in Waikiki, and then we did some of the more like let's go on a hike and see the island. When we were walking around downtown Waikiki, you can't smoke on the beach, but I was walking around town and I lit up a cigar, and we're walking down the street and I turn the corner and I'm like, I smell somebody else's cigar. And we turn the corner and there's a guy just sitting on like the marquee of an office building, smoking a cigar. So I walked over to him. I'm like, hey man, what are you smoking? He was smoking an Oliva V. I gave him one of ours and we just sat there and bullshitted. I wouldn't have connected with that guy.
No.
There's no reason for me to stop and talk to that guy.
Exactly.
Who hasn't been smoking a cigar. So it's definitely a conversation starter. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, we have got some cool things coming up. First of all, Brandon, thank you for coming on.
Oh, we've loved it. I've loved it.
Loved it.
I'm going to ask you to stay on as after we end it. But I'm excited about our guests that we've got coming up at the end of November. So this brand is really, it's one of the first brands I ever, it's one of the first brands that I ever smoked. My very first brand, I mean, I smoked some Cubans, and then I went and smoked a Dunhill. And then I started with Rocky Patel. And so we've got Rocky Patel, we've got the rep for Rocky Patel coming on the show at the end of November 29th. We are working with some possible other guests between now and then, and excited about it. Not going to mention the names just yet, but there's some big names in the industry, and also working. We both Red and I are working with possibly bringing on somebody within the wine industry onto the show, before the end of the year,
Very cool.
And I'm very, very excited about that. In between time when we don't have a guest, we're going to do some pairings. We're going to explore the pairings. I want you to come out and challenge us with some types of pairings, because you know how we love that. We will step up to that. That's why we're called the Twisted Pair. But until then, please make sure you hit that subscribe, hit that like. If you're on YouTube, if you're not on YouTube, go out to YouTube and hit that subscribe. Help us break that 200 subscriber mark and get to it. Go out to our website. You can go and see all of the great articles. We've just published our first wine review article out there that our new wine writer, Terry Lynn, has just done a phenomenal job on it. We have got a new craft brew writer that has just joined us.
Across the pond.
He's across the pond. He is out in Scotland.
Awesome.
He's out in Scotland, and all he does is craft brew. He said, "Is there any articles I can't do?" And I said, "Well, don't do anything on Guinness, because we've already done Guinness." And he goes, "I'm not worried about that one. I'm not going to be reviewing Guinness." He's pure craft brew, and he knows what he's talking about.
And I'm so
so excited on that. And I want to announce this. We need another whiskey writer. If you're into whiskeys and you want to write, can't afford to pay you right now, but that is coming down the future as we get sponsors and we get advertisers in our magazine, which our first issue of our magazine is going to be released at the end of the quarter. So be watching out for that. Articles are starting to come in, and I am stoked. I am so excited about what we've got coming out. So our first digital print of our magazine is going to be at the end of the quarter. But lots of great things, as you guys already know, coming out with Leaf and Grain Society. We're going to keep pushing the envelope. We're going to keep on bringing the education, bringing the fun, bringing the reviews, bringing the articles for you. So go out to our website. Don't just open it up, but actually read an article, because believe it or not, the time that you spend on it helps us. It helps us out immensely. But we love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Come back next week, same time, where Red and I are going to be bringing out a pairing. Until then, explore the pairings.
There's something for everyone. Night, y'all.
Night.